Chapter 1. The Arrival of the Dark Fog. The Great Forest was a sanctuary, a place of balance and harmony where animals of all kinds lived in peace. From the tallest trees where birds nested to the deepest burrows of rabbits and badgers, life flourished under the watchful eyes of nature. Rivers flowed with crystal clear water, and the wind carried the scent of blooming flowers across the forest. It was a place where families could roam free, food was abundant, and there was no need to fear. But one day, everything changed. It began subtly, like a shadow creeping over the land. At first, only a few animals noticed strange occurrences: the sudden silence of the birds, the absence of sunshine in certain parts of the forest, the chill that lingered in the air even when the days were warm. Whispers spread among the creatures. Something was wrong, something unnatural. Then came the fog. It rolled in slowly, a dark, thick mist that enveloped the heart of the forest. The fog seemed to have a life of its own, twisting and coiling between the trees, blotting out the sunlight. It moved silently but relentlessly, spreading across the forest like a living thing. And wherever it went, it brought fear. At first, the animals tried to avoid it, retreating to safer, brighter areas. But the fog was insidious, creeping further into their homes, cutting off food supplies and displacing families. Squirrels, once carefree and energetic, became anxious as their acorn stores disappeared. Deer, who grazed in the meadows, found themselves trapped as the fog blocked their way to the river. And worst of all, those who ventured too deep into the fog were never seen again. The great forest was no longer safe. In a small clearing not far from where the fog first appeared, a young lion cub named Leo lived with his family. Unlike the rest of the forest's predators, the lions of Leo's pride had long abandoned their hunting ways, choosing instead to live peacefully among the other animals. Leo had always been curious about the world beyond the clearing, dreaming of adventures and exploring the vastness of the forest. His mother often warned him, "One day, your curiosity will lead you into trouble, Leo. You must be patient and learn before you wander too far." But Leo was impatient by nature. His young heart yearned for something more, something beyond the safety of his home. However, when the fog arrived, adventure was the last thing on his mind. One morning, as the mist drew closer to their clearing, Leo's mother called him to her side. Her usual calm voice was tinged with worry. "Stay close, Leo," she said, her eyes scanning the dark horizon where the fog loomed. "There's danger in the forest." "What is it, Mama?" Leo asked, his small frame trembling despite his attempt to sound brave. "No one knows," she replied, wrapping a protective paw around him. "But it's not safe to go beyond the clearing. Stay here with the pride." Leo nodded, though deep down he felt conflicted. The fear of the fog gnawed at him, but his curiosity burned brighter. What was in the fog? Why was it here? And why did it make everyone so scared? As the days passed, the fog continued to spread. It swallowed trees, blanketed the rivers, and stretched its dark tendrils closer and closer to Leo's home. Each day, more animals fled their homes, seeking refuge in the remaining clear patches of the forest. The pride held their ground, but Leo could sense their growing unease. One night, Leo was awakened by the sound of whispers. He crept toward the voices and found a group of animals huddled together, their faces tight with worry. Among them were his parents, their usual calm expressions replaced by something Leo had never seen before: fear. "We can't stay here much longer," said an old rabbit, his ears twitching nervously. "The fog is closing in." "I heard the eastern meadow has been swallowed whole," a deer murmured, her eyes wide with terror. "No one who went there has returned." "What are we going to do?" another animal asked, panic rising in their voice. Leo's father, usually strong and steady, spoke in a low voice. "We'll move if we must, but for now, we stay together. The fog hasn't reached us yet." As the animals discussed their fate, Leo's thoughts began to race. He couldn't just sit by and watch. His family, his friends, everyone was in danger, but what could he do? He was just a cub, small and inexperienced, yet deep inside, a voice told him he had to do something. He had to find out what was causing the fog and stop it. The next morning, Leo's heart pounded as he stood at the edge of the clearing. The fog was closer than ever, just beyond the trees. He could see its dark, swirling form, almost alive in the way it moved. Fear clutched at him, but so did determination. He took a deep breath and padded toward the mist, his eyes focused on the unknown. Just as his paw touched the damp ground near the fog's edge, a soft voice called out behind him, "Leo, don't." Leo spun around to see Willow, the wise owl, perched on a low branch. Her large eyes, filled with wisdom and kindness, watched him closely. "You won't find answers there," she said, her voice calm but firm. "But my family," Leo began, his voice trembling. "The fog is coming for us. I can't just sit here." Willow fluffed her feathers thoughtfully. "You are brave, Leo, but bravery without wisdom can lead to disaster. If you wish to find the truth, you'll need help, friends who can guide you through the dangers ahead." Leo's ears perked up at her words. Friends? He had always thought he could do things alone, but maybe Willow was right. The fog wasn't something he could face on his own. "You will need to gather those who are willing," Willow continued. "The journey will be long and perilous, but if you succeed, you may just save us all." Leo hesitated, the weight of the decision pressing on him. Could he really do this? Could he find the courage to lead others on such a dangerous journey? Doubt swirled in his mind, but one thing was clear. He couldn't ignore the fog. He couldn't let it destroy everything he loved. With a determined nod, Leo looked up at Willow. "I'll do it. I'll find help, and we'll stop the fog." The wise owl smiled, her eyes glowing with approval. "Then the journey begins." As Leo turned to face the dark forest ahead, a new feeling stirred within him. Not fear, but hope. The great forest was in danger, but he wasn't going to face it alone. His adventure had just begun. Chapter 2. Leo's Decision. The sun had barely risen above the treetops when Leo left the clearing. The once vibrant forest was now veiled in a heavy silence, the usual chatter of animals replaced by the ominous hum of the approaching fog. Each step he took away from his family felt heavier, as if the weight of responsibility had settled squarely on his small shoulders. His mind buzzed with questions. How was he going to save the forest? Where would he even begin? And who would be willing to join him on such a dangerous quest? Willow's words echoed in his mind. Bravery without wisdom can lead to disaster. He understood now that courage alone wasn't enough. He needed others. But who? Who among his friends would risk everything to venture into the fog? The thought of asking anyone made his stomach twist with anxiety. As he padded through the woods, he caught a glimpse of movement ahead. A figure darted between the trees, small and quick. Leo recognized the blur of fur immediately. It was Milo, the Meerkat, his best friend and constant companion. Milo was always up to something, full of energy and boundless optimism. If anyone could lighten the weight of this journey, it was him. "Milo," Leo called, quickening his pace. Milo skidded to a stop, his round eyes wide with surprise. "Leo, what are you doing all the way out here? The fog's getting close, you know. Not exactly the best time for a stroll." "I know," Leo said, trying to keep the nervous tremor out of his voice, "but that's why I'm here. I need your help." Milo's usual grin faded slightly, his expression becoming more serious than Leo had ever seen. "My help? With what?" Leo hesitated for a moment, unsure of how to explain the gravity of what he was about to ask, but there was no turning back now. "The fog. It's getting worse. It's cutting off food, trapping animals, and I think it's only going to spread. My family are home. None of us are safe." Milo's ears twitched as he listened, his usual cheerfulness dimming. "Yeah, I've seen it too. My burrow's pretty close to the edge now. It's kind of scary, to be honest. That's why I'm leaving," Leo said, his voice steady but full of determination. "I'm going to find the source of the fog. Someone has to do something, and I can't just sit around while it gets worse." Milo blinked, clearly taken aback. Wait, you're going to, what, stop the fog, Leo? That's crazy. No one even knows where it's coming from, and everyone who's gone in, well, they don't come back." "I know," Leo admitted, his heart pounding in his chest. "But if we don't do something, it's going to destroy everything. Willow said I'd need help, and I can't do this alone. That's why I came to find you. I need you, Milo." For a moment, Milo said nothing. He scratched the back of his head, clearly processing the enormity of what Leo was asking. Then, with a deep breath, Milo's trademark grin returned, although a bit shakier than usual. "Well, I'm not gonna lie, Leo. This sounds like the craziest thing you've ever suggested. But you know what? I've never been one to back down from an adventure." He gave a playful wink. "Besides, who else is gonna keep you out of trouble?" Leo couldn't help but smile, a wave of relief washing over him. Milo might be clumsy and always getting into trouble, but his heart was in the right place. With his friend by his side, Leo felt a little less alone. "Thanks, Milo," Leo said, his voice full of gratitude. "I don't know what I'd do without you." "Probably get eaten by something, or worse, trip over your own paws," Milo teased, though there was an undertone of seriousness in his voice. "So, what's the plan, oh fearless leader?" "We need more help," Leo said. "The fog is dangerous and we don't know what's causing it. Willow said we need to gather friends, ones who can handle what's ahead." "More help?" Milo's eyes sparkled with mischief. "Well, good news for you, Leo. I think I know just the fox for the job." Luna the fox was known throughout the forest as a master strategist. She was cunning, quick thinking, and always 2 steps ahead of everyone else. Leo had only spoken to her a few times, but he knew that if anyone could help them navigate the dangers of the forest, it would be her. However, she also had a reputation for being distant, preferring to work alone rather than with others. Milo led Leo through the trees to Luna's usual haunt, a secluded den hidden beneath a thick canopy of brambles. As they approached, Milo cupped his paws around his mouth and called out, "Hey, Luna! You in there?" For a moment, there was only silence. Then, from the shadows of the den, Luna emerged, her sleek red fur glinting in the dappled sunlight. Her sharp eyes flicked between Leo and Milo, her expression unreadable. "What do you two want?" she asked, her voice calm but guarded. Leo stepped forward, trying to project confidence. "We need your help, Luna. The fog, it's spreading, and I'm going to find out what's causing it. But we can't do it alone. We need someone with your skills." Luna's eyes narrowed slightly. "You're going to stop the fog? That's bold, Leo, especially for someone as inexperienced as you. Like, why should I risk my life for your little adventure?" Milo, ever the optimist, jumped in before Leo could answer. "Come on, Luna. We both know you love a good challenge. This is the biggest one yet. And besides, if we don't do something, that fog's going to take over the whole forest. Where will you hide then?" Luna considered Milo's words carefully, her gaze lingering on Leo. For a long moment, the only sound was the wind rustling through the leaves. Finally, she let out a small sigh and nodded. "Fine. I'll join you. But understand this. I work on my own terms. I'm not following anyone blindly into danger." Leo's heart lifted. Having Luna on their side was a huge step forward. "Thank you, Luna. We'll need your guidance." "Just don't slow me down," she replied coolly, but there was a flicker of amusement in her eyes. With Luna now part of the team, Leo felt like they were finally gaining momentum. But there was still one more friend he needed, someone with the heart and patience to keep them grounded. They needed Toby. Toby the tortoise was unlike anyone Leo had ever met. He was slow-moving, yes, but his calm and thoughtful nature made him wise beyond his years. While other animals might rush into danger, Toby always took his time, carefully considering his actions before making a move. Leo admired that about him. It didn't take long to find Toby. He was resting by a small stream, his shell glistening in the sunlight. Leo, Milo, and Luna approached cautiously, not wanting to disturb his peaceful moment. "Toby?" Leo called gently. The old tortoise blinked lazily, lifting his head. "Ah, Leo, Milo, and Luna." His voice was deep and soothing, like the quiet flow of the stream beside him. "What brings you here?" Leo explained the situation, about the fog, the danger it posed, and their plan to find its source. Toby listened carefully, his expression never changing as Leo spoke. When Leo finished, there was a long pause. Finally, Toby nodded slowly. "A noble quest, indeed. The forest is in great need, and I believe you are capable of leading this journey, Leo." Leo felt a swell of pride at Toby's words. "Will you come with us, Toby? We need your wisdom." Toby smiled kindly. "Of course, my friend. Every journey needs a steady heart, and I will do my best to guide you." With that, their team was complete. Leo, Milo, Luna, and Toby stood together ready to face the unknown. The great forest was counting on them, and though the path ahead was uncertain, Leo knew one thing for sure. With his friends by his side, they stood a chance. As the sun began to set, casting long shadows over the trees, Leo felt a mixture of fear and hope. The fog was waiting for them, but so was their destiny. Their journey had truly begun. Chapter 3: The Call to Adventure. The first rays of morning light filtered through the trees, casting long shadows across the forest floor. Leo stood at the edge of the clearing, looking back at the place he had always called home. It seemed smaller now, as though the weight of the mission ahead had already begun to change him. The warmth and safety of his pride felt distant, as if it belonged to another time, a time before the fog. Behind him, his newfound companions waited. Milo was chattering away, trying to lighten the mood as usual, while Toby sat quietly, his ancient eyes observing the world with serene patience. Luna, ever vigilant, remained on the outskirts of the group, her sharp gaze scanning the horizon for any sign of danger. The fog had not yet reached their current position, but its dark tendrils could be seen creeping ever closer in the distance, like some slow-moving storm. Leo took a deep breath. This was it. No more waiting, no more hesitation. The time had come to begin their journey. "We need to head west," Luna said, breaking the silence. Her voice was calm but firm, as though she had already mapped out the entire journey in her mind. "The fog seems to be thicker in that direction. If we're going to find the source, that's where we'll start." Leo nodded, though his heart pounded in his chest. He still wasn't entirely sure he was ready for this life, but there was no turning back now. The fate of the great forest rested on their shoulders. Toby slowly rose to his feet, the weight of his shell making his movements deliberate. "A wise choice, Luna. The western side of the forest is less inhabited, fewer animals to warn or worry about. But we must stay vigilant. The forest is unpredictable." Milo bounced to his feet, his eyes shining with excitement. "Less inhabited, huh? That means fewer things trying to eat us, right? I mean, who needs that kind of drama on a heroic quest?" Luna rolled her eyes but said nothing. Her expression, however, softened slightly, as though Milo's humor had succeeded in easing some of the tension she felt. Leo took one last glance at his home, and with a final deep breath, he turned toward the path ahead. "All right, let's go." The group set off, moving cautiously through the forest. Every rustle of leaves and snap of a twig put them on edge. Even the birds seemed quieter, their usual songs replaced by an eerie silence. The further west they traveled, the thicker the trees became, casting long shadows that danced in the morning light. The air was growing cooler, too, and there was a dampness to the wind that hadn't been there before. For a while, they walked in relative silence, each member of the group lost in their own thoughts. Leo's mind raced as he tried to plan for what lay ahead, but the truth was he had no idea what to expect. The fog seemed to defy explanation. How could something so intangible be so dangerous? It was Milo, who finally broke the quiet, his upbeat voice cutting through the tension. "So, anyone else think we're going to stumble upon some magical treasure or ancient secret? I mean, that's usually what happens in adventures, right?" Toby chuckled softly. "Adventures, young Milo, often take unexpected turns. And while treasure might not be our goal, the knowledge we seek may be just as valuable." Knowledge, treasure, either way, as long as it's shiny or useful, I'm in. Milo grinned, though the flicker of nerves in his eyes betrayed his attempt to keep things light. Luna, walking ahead, suddenly raised her paw, motioning for everyone to stop. She crouched low to the ground, her ears twitching as she listened intently. "What is it?" Leo whispered, his heart rate quickening. Luna's gaze darted through the dense trees ahead. "Something's not right," she murmured. "The air feels wrong." Leo strained his ears, trying to hear what Luna was picking up on. At first, there was nothing, just the whisper of the wind and the distant rustling of leaves. But then he heard it, a low, rhythmic sound, like breathing. It was faint, almost imperceptible, but unmistakably close. "Do you hear that?" Leo asked, his voice barely above a whisper. Milo's eyes widened. "Is that the fog?" "No," Luna replied, her eyes narrowing. "It's something else." The sound grew louder, a soft growling that seemed to come from all around them. The group instinctively moved closer together, their eyes scanning the trees for the source of the noise. Toby, ever calm, spoke softly. "We must proceed carefully. The forest hides many things, some of which do not take kindly to intruders." Before anyone could respond, a shadow darted through the underbrush, moving too fast for them to identify. The growling grew louder, accompanied by the sound of something large moving through the trees. Leo's heart pounded in his chest. "What is it?" he asked, trying to keep his voice steady. Luna's eyes narrowed. "A predator, but not one we've encountered before." Suddenly, the shadow burst from the trees, revealing a creature unlike any they had seen. It was large, its fur a dark, mottled gray that blended with the shadows of the forest. Its eyes glowed faintly in the dim light, and its claws scraped against the earth as it circled the group. Leo froze, his instincts telling him to flee, but his feet refused to move. The creature's eyes locked onto him, its growl deepening. Milo gulped. Leo? Now might be a good time for one of those brilliant plans. Leo swallowed hard, his mind racing. He had to do something, anything, to protect his friends. But what? Before he could come up with a plan, Luna acted. With a swift motion, she leaped toward the creature, her movements precise and calculated. She darted around it, drawing its attention away from the group as it snapped at her with razor-sharp teeth. Run! Luna barked over her shoulder as she dodged another swipe from the creature. Leo hesitated for a split second before grabbing Milo's arm. Come on! The group took off, running as fast as they could through the trees. The sound of the creature's growls and Luna's swift movements faded behind them as they sprinted deeper into the forest. Leo's heart pounded in his chest, fear surging through him. He had never been this close to a predator before, and the thought of Luna facing it alone made his stomach twist with guilt. After what felt like an eternity, the group finally slowed to a stop, panting heavily. They had made it to a small clearing, far enough from the danger that the forest had returned to its eerie silence. Is Luna okay? Milo gasped, doubling over to catch his breath. Leo looked back in the direction they had come, his stomach churning. I don't know. They didn't have to wait long to find out. Moments later, Luna emerged from the trees, her fur ruffled but otherwise unharmed. She padded silently toward them, her sharp eyes betraying none of the danger she had just faced. That was close, she said, her voice steady. But it's gone. For now. Leo breathed a sigh of relief, but the weight of what had just happened still hung heavy in the air. What was that thing? Luna shook her head. I don't know, but it's not natural. I've lived in this forest my entire life and never seen anything like it. Toby, who had remained calm throughout the ordeal, spoke up. The forest is changing more than we realized. The fog isn't just spreading, it's bringing new dangers with it. Leo's heart sank. If the fog was capable of summoning creatures like the one they had just faced, their journey was going to be even more dangerous than he had imagined. Milo, ever the optimist, tried to brighten the mood. Well, at least we know what we're up against now, right? Creepy fog, freaky monsters, no big deal, we've got this. But even Milo's words couldn't fully shake the tension that clung to the group. The fog wasn't just a mysterious force anymore. It was actively changing the forest, making it more dangerous by the day. And whatever was causing it was still out there, waiting for them. Leo looked at his friends, at Toby's calm resolve, Milo's unwavering optimism, and Luna's sharp, calculating mind. They had faced their first real danger together, and though they had escaped, Leo knew that the hardest part was yet to come. We'll keep going, Leo said, his voice firmer now. We're not stopping until we find the source of this fog, whatever it takes. The others nodded in agreement, their eyes filled with determination. The path ahead was uncertain, and danger lurked at every turn, but Leo no longer felt the crushing weight of doubt that had plagued him before. They were in this together, and together they would face whatever the forest threw at them. Chapter 4: The Journey Begins. The forest grew denser as the group pressed onward, the thick canopy above filtering the sunlight into a dappled mosaic of shadows on the forest floor. Every step felt heavier, more deliberate, as though the weight of their mission settled deeper into their bones. The air had taken on a distinct chill, and the smell of damp earth and decaying leaves filled their nostrils. Leo led the way, his youthful determination mingling with a growing sense of responsibility. Behind him, Milo hummed a cheerful tune, clearly trying to mask his own anxiety. Toby walked steadily, his slow but sure steps giving the group a reassuring rhythm to follow, while Luna remained on the outskirts, her sharp eyes constantly scanning their surroundings. We've been walking for hours, Milo groaned, stumbling over a gnarled root. Are we there yet? Toby chuckled softly. Patience, young friend. The forest is vast and our journey has only just begun. Milo sighed dramatically. I know. I just thought adventuring would be a little more exciting, less walking, more treasure hunting, you know? Leo smiled despite the tension in his chest. We're not after treasure, Milo. We're after answers. Answers. Treasure. Same thing, right? Milo winked, his playful grin returning. Both valuable, one just happens to be shiny. Luna, who had been quiet for most of the journey, finally spoke up. Focus. We're getting close. Leo glanced at her, his brow furrowed. Close to what? Luna's eyes narrowed as she sniffed the air. The fog. I can smell it. It's different here. Leo inhaled deeply, trying to catch the scent she had noticed. The air did feel heavier, like the atmosphere before a storm. It had an unnatural dampness, almost metallic in its tang. The faint, oppressive scent of the fog lingered, a constant reminder of the danger lurking ahead. I can feel it too, Toby added. His old, wise eyes surveyed the forest. The forest is quiet, too quiet. We must be cautious. The silence was unnerving. No birds called from the trees, no insects buzzed in the air. The only sounds were their own footsteps and the occasional rustle of leaves in the wind. It was as if the forest itself was holding its breath, waiting. As they ventured deeper, the trees began to change. Their bark, once vibrant and full of life, had grown dark and brittle, as though the very essence of the forest was being drained away. The ground beneath their feet was soft, almost swampy, and the air grew colder with every step. Suddenly, Milo stopped in his tracks, his nose twitching. Guys, I think we've got a problem. Leo turned to him, concerned. What is it? Milo pointed ahead, where the thick fog they had been chasing now loomed before them. It clung to the trees like a living thing, swirling and undulating in slow, deliberate patterns. The fog was unlike anything Leo had ever seen before. It wasn't just a mist, it seemed to have substance, a weight to it that made the air feel suffocating. This is it, Luna said quietly, her voice barely above a whisper. The edge of the fog. Leo's heart raced. They had finally reached the boundary. The moment they had been preparing for was here. And yet, he felt a wave of uncertainty wash over him. The fog looked menacing, like a living, breathing entity. There was something deeply wrong about it. Toby moved forward slowly, his eyes fixed on the fog. The forest doesn't feel right here. The balance has been disrupted. Leo swallowed hard. He could feel it too. Something was terribly wrong. The air was thick with tension, and the forest itself seemed to recoil from the presence of the fog. Do we go in? Milo asked, his voice trembling slightly. Luna, ever the strategist, stepped forward and crouched near the ground. She examined the fog closely, her sharp eyes scanning for any clue or trap. We don't have much choice. If we're going to find the source, we need to go through it. Leo hesitated, his mind racing. The fog wasn't just a physical obstacle, it represented the unknown, the danger they had all feared. But they had come too far to turn back now. Taking a deep breath, Leo nodded. We'll go together. Stay close and don't lose sight of each other. The others nodded, and one by one, they stepped into the fog. The moment they crossed the threshold, the air grew colder still and visibility dropped to almost nothing. The fog clung to them, thick and suffocating, as though it was alive. It twisted and swirled around their legs, tendrils of mist reaching out like ghostly fingers. Leo's heart pounded in his chest. Every instinct told him to turn back, to run as far from the fog as possible, but he forced himself to keep moving. He could hear the others around him, their breathing quick and nervous. Stay close, he reminded them, his voice muffled by the dense fog. I'm right here. Milo piped up from behind, though his usual cheeriness was notably absent. Toby's steady voice followed. I'm here too. Don't let the fog deceive you. They moved slowly, each step more cautious than the last. The world beyond the fog felt distant, and it was easy to imagine that they were the only living creatures left in the forest. The oppressive silence was broken only by the soft crunch of their feet on the damp ground and the occasional rustling of leaves in the distance. Suddenly, Luna stopped, her ears perked up and her body tense. Something's not right. Leo turned to her, his eyes wide with concern. What do you mean? Luna's gaze darted around them. We're being followed. Milo's eyes grew wide. Followed? By what? I don't know, Luna replied, her voice low and steady, but it's close, and it's watching us. Leo's heart skipped a beat. He strained his ears, trying to pick up any sound beyond the eerie silence, but there was nothing. The fog distorted everything, making it impossible to tell where anything was coming from. Should we run? Milo whispered, his voice barely audible. Luna shook her head. Running will only make it chase us. We need to stay calm. Just as she finished speaking, a low growl echoed through the fog, sending a chill down Leo's spine. It was faint, but unmistakable. Something was out there, hidden in the mist, and it was stalking them. Tobai moved closer to the group, his calm presence reassuring. We must face whatever this is with courage. Fear will only cloud our judgment. Leo nodded, trying to steady his breathing. He could feel the weight of his friend's trust on his shoulders, and though he still doubted himself, he knew he couldn't let them down. Not now. The growling grew louder, closer. Whatever was following them was closing in. Without warning, the fog parted slightly, revealing a pair of glowing eyes in the distance. They were watching them, unblinking and predatory. The creature that had been stalking them was massive, its shape barely visible through the thick fog, but its presence was unmistakable. Leo's heart raced. This was no ordinary forest creature. It was something else, something born of the fog itself. Milo took a step back, his voice trembling. "What do we do, Leo?" Leo stared into the glowing eyes, his mind racing. He wanted to run, to flee into the safety of the trees, but he knew that wasn't an option. They had to face this, whatever it was. "We stand our ground," Leo said, his voice steady despite the fear gnawing at him. "We face it together." Luna nodded, her body tense and ready to strike. Toby stood firm, his calm gaze never leaving the creature. Milo, though clearly terrified, remained by their side, trusting Leo's decision. The creature growled again, louder this time, as it began to move toward them, its massive form slowly emerging from the fog. Leo braced himself, ready for whatever was about to happen. The tension in the air was palpable, and for a brief moment, time seemed to stand still. Then, just as the creature was about to strike, something unexpected happened. The fog around them shimmered and shifted, and the creature hesitated. Its glowing eyes flickered, as though it was confused or disoriented. Leo blinked in surprise. What's happening?" Before anyone could answer, the creature let out a low, frustrated growl and vanished into the fog, its glowing eyes disappearing into the mist. The group stood in stunned silence, their hearts racing. The danger had passed, but the fog still surrounded them, thick and impenetrable. "What just happened?" Milo asked, his voice shaking. Luna shook her head, her eyes still scanning the fog. "I don't know, but something scared it off." Toby, ever wise, spoke softly. "The fog, it's not just a force of nature. There's something more to it, something we don't yet understand." Leo nodded, his mind reeling. The creature's sudden retreat had been a blessing, but it left more questions than answers. "We need to keep moving," Leo said, his voice steady once more. "Whatever that was, it's not the last danger we'll face." The others nodded in agreement, and together they continued their journey through the fog, knowing that their greatest challenges were still ahead. The fog might have been a mystery, but one thing was clear. They were not alone in this forest. Something was watching, waiting, and they had only just begun to uncover the truth behind the dark mist that threatened their world. Chapter 5: The First Trial. The air grew colder as the group ventured deeper into the forest. The canopy above blocked out most of the sunlight, leaving only pale, ghostly beams of light filtering through the dense branches. Every sound felt amplified. The crunch of leaves beneath their feet, the occasional crack of a twig, the faint rustling of unseen creatures moving through the underbrush. Leo walked at the front, his eyes scanning the path ahead. He could feel the weight of responsibility on his shoulders, heavier with every step. Behind him, Milo, Toby, and Luna followed, each in their own way mentally preparing for the unknown challenges ahead. "I've got a bad feeling about this," Milo muttered under his breath, trying to keep up with the others. "The forest feels different here." "You're right," Luna said, her sharp eyes scanning the treetops. "Something's off. We're not alone." Toby, ever the calm presence, nodded in agreement. "The balance of the forest has been disturbed. We must proceed with caution." Leo felt a knot form in his stomach. He had noticed it too, the eerie stillness, the unnatural quiet. Something was watching them, though he couldn't tell from where. But before he could voice his concerns, the path ahead of them opened up, revealing a massive river, wide and dark, with fog swirling just above its surface. "The Shadow River," Luna said, her voice low and serious. "We knew this was coming." The river stretched out before them, seemingly endless. The water was murky and black, the surface unnervingly still. No birds flew overhead, and no fish swam in its depths. The river was silent, lifeless, like it had been abandoned by nature itself. Milo blinked in surprise. How are we supposed to cross that? I don't see a bridge, and there's no way we can swim through it. Toby moved forward slowly, gazing at the river's edge. The Shadow River is not like other rivers. It's said to be a barrier between worlds, a place where the living and the unknown meet. We cannot cross it with strength alone. Leo felt his heart sink. What do you mean? If we can't swim and there's no bridge, what are we supposed to do? Luna stepped closer to the river, crouching low and dipping her paw just above the water without touching it. She narrowed her eyes as she studied the surface. This river is enchanted. It's not just a physical obstacle. It reacts to fear and doubt. If we lose focus, we'll never make it across. Milo's eyes widened. Wait, so the river can read our minds? That's creepy. Toby nodded. In a way, yes. The legends say that those who attempt to cross the river must remain calm, or else the waters will claim them. Leo looked at the river, feeling a chill run down his spine. The idea that this river could sense their emotions was unsettling, but they had no choice. They had to cross it to continue their journey. All right, Leo said, trying to sound confident. We stick together, and we don't let fear control us. We've made it this far, and we can get through this. Luna stood up and nodded. Agreed, but we need a strategy. Rushing in without a plan could get us trapped in the middle of the river. Milo raised his hand as if in school. I vote for not rushing in at all. Maybe we can find another way around? There is no other way. Luna said firmly. This is the only crossing, but we'll need to find the shallowest part of the river, where the fog is thinnest. That's where we'll have the best chance. The group began to walk along the riverbank, staying close together as they searched for a safe passage. The further they walked, the more ominous the river seemed, the mist growing denser and darker with every step. After what felt like hours, Luna finally stopped. Here, she said, pointing to a section of the river where the fog thinned slightly, revealing a narrow stretch of water. This is our best option. Leo swallowed hard. The river still looked treacherous, but if Luna believed this was the safest spot, he trusted her judgment. I'll go first, Leo said, stepping forward. No, Luna interrupted, shaking her head. I'll lead. I'm lighter and faster. If there's any danger, I'll have the best chance of dodging it. Leo hesitated, but nodded. He knew Luna was right. She was the most agile of them, and they needed her keen instincts to guide them through this challenge. Luna stepped carefully into the shallow water, her movements deliberate and controlled. The others watched as she moved forward, her eyes scanning the river's surface for any sign of danger. For a moment, it seemed like things were going smoothly. The water only reached her ankles, and the fog remained thin. But then, without warning, the water began to ripple. The surface shifted, swirling unnaturally, as if something deep beneath the river had awakened. Luna! Leo shouted, his heart pounding in his chest. Get out of there! Luna froze, her sharp eyes narrowing as she saw the ripples growing larger. She backed away slowly, her body tense and ready to leap out of the water at any moment. Toby's deep voice broke the silence. The river is testing us. Stay calm, Luna. It's feeding on your fear. Leo clenched his fists, trying to push down the panic rising in his chest. The river wasn't just water. It was alive, sensing their emotions and responding to them. If Luna let her fear take control, they would all be in danger. Milo, standing at the edge of the river, began to hum a soft tune. It was a nervous habit of his, but the melody seemed to soothe the tension in the air. Toby joined in with a low, steady hum, his voice grounding the group in calmness. Luna closed her eyes for a brief moment, inhaling deeply before taking another step forward. The ripples in the water slowed, and the river grew still once more. It's working, Milo whispered in awe, continuing his tune. The river is calming down. Toby nodded. Harmony, peace of mind, that's the key. If we move forward together with steady hearts, we can cross. Luna opened her eyes and took a few more steps. The water remained still. Follow me, she said, her voice calmer now. We'll make it across, but stay focused. No sudden movements, and no doubt. One by one, the others followed Luna into the river, each of them doing their best to keep their emotions in check. The water was cold and unwelcoming, but as long as they remained calm, it stayed shallow and still. As they neared the middle of the river, Leo felt a flicker of doubt in his heart. The far bank still seemed so far away, and the water was rising ever so slightly around his legs. His breath quickened, and for a moment, he feared the river would sense his hesitation. Toby's voice broke through his thoughts. Steady, Leo. Trust yourself. Trust us. Leo nodded, forcing himself to focus on the rhythm of their steps, the steady hum of Milo's song, and the calm presence of his friends around him. Together, they moved forward, slowly but surely, through the cold waters of the Shadow River. At long last, Luna reached the opposite bank and pulled herself out of the water. The others followed one by one until they were all standing on solid ground once more, the dark river behind them. Leo exhaled in relief, his heart still pounding from the tension. "We did it," he said, almost in disbelief. Milo collapsed onto the grass, panting. "That was intense." Luna, still catching her breath, nodded. "The river was more dangerous than I expected, but we made it." Toby looked back at the river, his expression thoughtful. This was the first test of many. The forest has more challenges ahead, and we must be prepared. Leo nodded in agreement. They had crossed the Shadow River, but their journey was far from over. The fog still loomed ahead, and the deeper they ventured into the forest, the more dangerous it would become. But for now, they had conquered their first trial, and together, they had proven that they could face whatever challenges lay ahead. Chapter 6: Milo's Moment. After their tense crossing of the Shadow River, the group took some time to rest. The ground was soft beneath them, and the faint glow of sunlight breaking through the canopy above offered a momentary sense of peace. Despite the challenges ahead, they had made it past one of the forest's most feared obstacles. Milo stretched his arms out wide, yawning. "So what's next? A giant talking tree? Maybe a magical fruit that gives us superpowers?" Luna gave him a sidelong glance. "It's going to get harder, Milo. The deeper we go, the more dangerous it will become. We need to stay alert." Leo nodded, wiping the sweat from his brow. "Luna's right. That river was only the beginning." Toby, ever the calming presence, spoke softly. "But remember, we faced it together. No matter how hard it gets, as long as we rely on each other, we can overcome it." Milo flashed a confident grin. "Rely on each other? No problem. You've got me, the best problem solver in the group." Luna smirked. "Is that what we're calling it now?" "Hey, I've got my moments," Milo replied with mock indignation. "Just wait. When we face a challenge no one else can solve, you'll see. I'll surprise everyone." The group began walking again, their spirits lifted somewhat by the brief rest. As they moved deeper into the forest, the trees grew taller and the air grew thicker, a heavy stillness settling over the path ahead. The fog from the river seemed to follow them, swirling between the trees like a living thing, watching and waiting for its moment. After several hours of walking, the ground beneath their feet started to change. The soft, earthy forest floor turned rocky and uneven, with large boulders scattered across their path. The trees thinned, giving way to a steep, jagged incline. Leo paused, looking up at the massive cliff that loomed before them. It stretched high into the sky, disappearing into the mist. This must be the next challenge. Luna stepped forward, studying the cliff with a critical eye. "It's too steep to climb without equipment, and the rocks look unstable. One wrong move and we could fall." Toby hummed thoughtfully. "There's always a way. We just need to find it." Milo, ever the optimist, bounded up to the base of the cliff and began poking around. Maybe there's a secret passage or a hidden tunnel. Something cool. Leo joined him, running his hand over the rough surface of the cliff. "I don't see anything. It's solid rock all the way up." Luna frowned, her mind working through possibilities. "There has to be a way. We just need to think." As they deliberated, Milo wandered further along the cliff face, his curiosity piqued by the strange shapes and crevices in the rock. He hummed to himself, tapping at the stones with his paw, not really expecting to find anything. But then something caught his eye. A small, narrow crack in the cliff, almost invisible from a distance, just wide enough for someone small and nimble to squeeze through. "Hey, guys!" Milo called out, his voice echoing against the rocks. "I think I found something!" The others hurried over to where Milo was standing, and Luna examined the crack closely. "It's tight, but it could lead somewhere. Good work, Milo." Milo puffed out his chest proudly. "See, I told you I'd find something. Sometimes you've just got to think like a meerkat." Leo smiled, relieved. "Nice job, Milo. Now, let's see where this takes us." One by one, the group squeezed through the narrow gap in the cliff, with Milo leading the way. The passage was tight and dark, but as they moved deeper, it gradually widened into a small tunnel, carved through the rock by some ancient force of nature. The tunnel was uneven and winding, with sharp turns and low ceilings that forced them to crouch. It was slow going, and the oppressive darkness made every sound seem louder, every shadow seem more menacing. But Milo kept his usual upbeat attitude, cracking jokes to lighten the mood as they inched forward. "This is kind of cozy, don't you think?" Milo said, his voice echoing off the walls. Like a meerkat's burrow, but, bigger. Toby chuckled. Bigger, indeed. But we're lucky to have found this path. Well done, Milo. After what felt like hours of crawling and squeezing, the tunnel finally opened up into a large cavern, its ceiling stretching high above them. Streaks of light filtered in from cracks in the rocks above, illuminating the chamber with a soft, golden glow. Milo's eyes widened as he looked around. Whoa. Whoa, this place is amazing. The cavern was filled with towering rock formations, stalactites hanging from the ceiling like the teeth of some ancient beast. In the center of the cavern stood a massive stone pillar covered in strange markings that none of them could decipher. Luna approached the pillar cautiously. These symbols, they look old, very old. This place must have been here for centuries. Toby nodded, his eyes full of wonder. The forest holds many secrets. We are fortunate to witness one of them. As they explored the cavern, it became clear that the tunnel had led them to the other side of the cliff. A narrow path wound its way upward, spiraling along the edge of the chamber and leading back to the surface. Leo breathed a sigh of relief. Looks like we made it. Milo grinned. See? I told you I'd find a way. Meerkat instincts, baby. Luna smirked. I'll admit, Milo, you did well, but don't let it go to your head. Milo winked. Too late. With the path forward now clear, the group made their way up the narrow spiral, the tension of the cliff climb behind them. The air grew fresher as they neared the surface, and the oppressive weight of the tunnel began to lift. When they finally emerged from the cavern, they found themselves standing atop a high plateau, the forest stretching out before them like a sea of green beneath the misty sky. Leo took a deep breath, feeling the cool breeze on his face. We're getting closer, I can feel it. Luna nodded, her gaze fixed on the horizon. The source of the fog, it's not far now. Toby stood beside them, his eyes calm but determined. We've come this far. Whatever lies ahead, we will face it together. Milo, still riding the high of his discovery, grinned and gave Leo a playful nudge. Told you I'd surprise everyone. Leo smiled. You did, Milo, and I have a feeling we'll need more of that as we go on. With their paths set and their spirits lifted, the group continued their journey, the fog ahead still thick and mysterious, but no longer as daunting as it once seemed. They had faced the river, crossed the cliffs, and discovered that even in the darkest places, there was always a way forward, if they trusted in themselves and each other. As the sun dipped lower in the sky, casting long shadows across the forest, Leo knew that the real test was yet to come. But for now, they had overcome another challenge, and their bond had only grown stronger. And with Milo's confidence at an all-time high, Leo couldn't help but think that maybe, just maybe, they had what it took to defeat the darkness once and for all. Chapter 7. The Whispering Woods. As the group continued their journey, the landscape began to change yet again. The trees grew closer together, their trunks twisted and gnarled, forming a nearly impenetrable wall of wood. The air was thick with a heavy silence, broken only by the soft rustling of leaves. It felt as if the forest itself was holding its breath, waiting for something to happen. Is it just me, or does it feel different here? Milo asked, glancing nervously around. His usual confidence seemed to waver under the weight of the oppressive atmosphere. Leo nodded, sensing the change. It's not just you. This part of the forest feels alive, like it's watching us. Luna stepped forward, her ears perked as she listened intently. I hear something. It's like whispers. Toby, moving slowly beside them, furrowed his brow. Whispers? In the forest? What do you mean? Like voices, but they're too soft to make out, Luna replied. It feels eerie. We should be cautious. Milo's eyes widened. I don't like this place. What if it's haunted or something? Leo took a deep breath, trying to push back the unease creeping into his chest. We faced challenges before, Milo. Whatever this is, we'll get through it together. As they pressed on, the whispers grew louder, swirling around them like a soft breeze. It was almost as if the trees themselves were sharing secrets, their leaves rustling with unspoken words. Leo's heart raced. He could feel the weight of something profound in the air. Suddenly, the ground began to shift beneath their feet. The forest opened up into a clearing, revealing a massive, ancient tree at its center. Its trunk was thick and gnarled, with branches that twisted into the sky like arms reaching for the heavens. The whispers intensified, reverberating through the clearing, and Leo felt a strange pull towards the tree. "Look at that tree," Toby said, his voice a mix of awe and respect. "It must be centuries old. Maybe it knows what's going on," Milo suggested, his voice trembling. "We should ask it." Luna raised an eyebrow. "How exactly do you plan to do that? It's a tree, not a talking animal." Leo stepped closer, feeling an inexplicable urge to touch the bark. Maybe it's not just a tree. Maybe it's a guardian of this part of the forest. As he reached out, the moment his paw made contact with the rough surface, the whispers surged around them, rising in intensity until they seemed to fill the air like a song. Leo's heart raced, and he felt a warmth spread through him, as if the tree was sharing its energy with him. Suddenly, visions began to dance in his mind, flashes of animals long gone, of harmony and balance, but also of chaos and darkness. He saw glimpses of the fog rolling in, creeping into the forest like an invading army, displacing families and sowing fear. "Leo!" Luna's voice broke through the haze, pulling him back to reality. "What's happening?" I... I don't know," Leo stammered, trying to regain his composure. "I saw something. The forest is connected to this fog. It's as if it's trying to communicate with us." Toby stepped forward, his eyes wide with concern. "Then we need to listen. What is it trying to say?" The whispers transformed, becoming clearer and more distinct. Leo closed his eyes again, focusing on the sensations, and allowed the messages to wash over him. The tree, it says that the fog feeds on fear and division. It thrives on the darkness in the hearts of those who dwell here. Milo swallowed hard, glancing nervously at his friends. "So the more afraid we are, the stronger the fog becomes?" "Exactly," Leo replied, feeling the weight of the truth. "We have to confront our fears. It's the only way to weaken it." Luna stepped closer to Leo, her expression serious. "But how do we do that? We can't just ignore our fears." Leo nodded slowly, his mind racing. "Maybe we need to face them together, share what we're afraid of, and support each other through it." Milo perked up. "I can start. I'm afraid of getting lost. I hate feeling like I don't know where I am or what to do. It makes me feel small and helpless." Toby smiled gently. "Thank you for sharing, Milo. I think many of us feel that way at times." Luna took a deep breath, her eyes flickering between her friends. "For me, it's the fear of being alone. I've always been good at strategizing, but sometimes I wonder if I can do it alone. It scares me to think I might have to face challenges without anyone by my side." Leo felt a swell of pride for his friends. "That's brave of you, Luna. I've struggled with my self-doubt too. I worry that I'm not strong enough to lead or make the right choices. What if I let you all down?" The atmosphere in the clearing shifted, the whispers turning softer, more supportive. It felt as though the tree was embracing them, offering comfort and understanding. Milo stepped forward again, looking at Leo with a bright smile. "But look at how far we've come. You led us through the river, and you found the way through the cliff. You've got this." Toby nodded, his voice steady. "And we will always be here to help you. Together, we are stronger than any fear." Luna took a step closer to the tree, her heart swelling with courage. "And we will not let the fog take away our friendship. We'll face it together, no matter what." As they spoke, a gust of wind rustled through the clearing, and the tree's leaves shimmered in the sunlight. The whispers turned to a harmonious hum, as if the forest was celebrating their unity. "Together," Leo echoed, a newfound determination burning in his chest. "We will confront the darkness. We will not let it win." With their fears laid bare, the group felt lighter, their bonds stronger than ever. The fog that had once seemed so threatening now felt like a challenge they could overcome. As they turned to leave the clearing, Milo looked back at the ancient tree. "Thank you for listening," he said quietly, feeling a deep sense of gratitude. "We'll come back." With that, they stepped back into the depths of the whispering woods, ready to face whatever lay ahead, united in their friendship and determination. The forest remained still around them, but now they walked with purpose, knowing that together they could confront the challenges that awaited them. With each step, they grew stronger, more aware of the strength found in vulnerability and the power of their shared resolve. And deep within the heart of the Whispering Woods, the tree stood sentinel, guarding their secrets and holding their courage close. Chapter 8: The Birth of a Leader. As the group pressed on through the Whispering Woods, the atmosphere shifted. The trees loomed taller, their branches weaving a thick canopy above, casting shadows that danced along the forest floor. The whispers had faded, replaced by a tense silence that seemed to thrum with anticipation. Leo could feel the weight of their mission growing heavier, pressing against him like the dense fog that hung in the air. "Keep your eyes peeled," Luna advised, her gaze scanning the trees. "We don't know what's lurking in these woods." Leo nodded, feeling the responsibility of leading his friends weigh on him. The more they ventured into the unknown, the more uncertain he became. He glanced at Milo, who was trying to lighten the mood by pretending to sneak around like a ninja. "Look out! I'm a stealthy meerkat," Milo whispered dramatically, exaggeratedly crouching low to the ground. "You'll never see me coming." "Very stealthy, Milo," Luna replied, her tone dripping with sarcasm, but she couldn't help but smile at his antics. Toby chuckled softly, his eyes twinkling. "Just remember, stealth doesn't help much if you trip over a rock." "Hey, I never said I was graceful," Milo shot back, grinning. "But I've got speed." Leo felt a small smile creeping onto his face. In moments like these, he realized how much he relied on his friends to help him navigate the uncertainties of their journey. It reminded him of the time they'd crossed the Shadow River, each of them contributing in their own way to overcome their fears. But beneath the surface of camaraderie, an unease began to creep into Leo's heart. He felt the stirrings of doubt again. What if he couldn't lead them through the darkness? What if he wasn't strong enough to confront whatever lay ahead? Suddenly, a rustling noise broke through his thoughts, sending a ripple of tension through the group. They all froze, their eyes darting to the source of the sound. "What was that?" Milo whispered, barely moving his lips. "Stay alert," Luna instructed, her ears twitching as she strained to hear. From the shadows, a figure emerged, stepping into the light. It was a deer, its eyes wide and fearful. The animal appeared to be trembling, and Leo could see that it was covered in scratches, as if it had narrowly escaped a dangerous encounter. "Please," the deer cried, its voice shaking. "You must help me. The fog, it's coming." Leo felt a surge of urgency at the deer's words. "What do you mean? Where is it coming from?" The deer glanced over its shoulder nervously, as if expecting something to pounce. "I was grazing near the edge of the woods when I felt it, this darkness creeping in, trying to take hold of my heart. I ran as fast as I could, but it's not just me. Others are trapped." "Trapped?" Milo echoed, his voice rising in panic. "What do you mean? Where?" "Over by the hollowed grove," the deer said, its eyes wide with fear. "It's where the fog is thickest. Animals have gone missing, and those who remain are losing hope. You have to help them." Leo's heart raced. This was the moment he had been waiting for, the moment to step up and lead his friends into action. But doubt still lingered at the back of his mind. Would they be able to confront the fog together? Taking a deep breath, he steadied himself. "We will help. We'll go to the hollowed grove and see what we can do." Toby nodded, his expression firm. "It's important that we offer assistance. We can't let fear rule over the forest." Luna's eyes flashed with determination. "We can't turn our backs on those in need. If the fog is causing harm, we need to face it head on." "Let's do it," Milo exclaimed, his usual optimism returning. "We'll show that fog who's boss." With their resolve strengthened, the group followed the deer as it led them through the twisted paths of the Whispering Woods. The atmosphere thickened around them, and the shadows grew longer as they moved deeper into the heart of the forest. As they approached the hollowed grove, the air became heavy with an almost palpable sense of dread. The trees here were warped and twisted, their trunks gnarled and lifeless. The ground was littered with remnants of leaves that had lost their vibrancy, and a dense mist hovered just above the earth. "Stay close," Leo instructed, his voice steady. "We need to stick together." When they entered the grove, the fog enveloped them, swirling around their legs like a ghostly mist. Visibility dropped, and Leo's heart raced. He could sense the fear radiating from his friends, but he pushed it aside, focusing on the task at hand. Milo, he said, keep an eye out for any animals that might need our help. Toby, stay close to me in case we need to find a way out. Got it, Milo chirped, eyes darting around the fog. They moved deeper into the grove, calling out for any trapped animals. Each call echoed back eerily, creating a haunting symphony of loneliness and despair. The fog thickened, stifling their voices and wrapping them in a cocoon of darkness. Suddenly, a faint whimper caught Leo's attention. Did you hear that? He asked, stopping in his tracks. Yeah, it came from over there. Milo pointed into the fog, his voice steady despite the fear creeping in. They moved towards the sound, pushing through the mist until they stumbled upon a small, trembling rabbit caught in a tangle of brambles. Its fur was matted with mud, and its eyes were wide with terror. Don't worry, we're here to help, Leo said softly, kneeling beside the rabbit. We're going to get you out. The rabbit looked up at him, trembling. The fog, it's everywhere. It makes me feel so scared. Leo felt the weight of the rabbit's fear, and in that moment, something shifted within him. You're not alone, he said, meeting the rabbit's gaze. We're all scared, but we're facing it together. You can be brave, too. With gentle care, Leo began to untangle the rabbit from the brambles, working quickly and efficiently. The rabbit's breathing slowed, and Leo could see a flicker of hope in its eyes. Thank you, the rabbit whispered as Leo finally freed it from the thorns. Before Leo could respond, a loud crack echoed through the grove, causing everyone to jump. The sound of snapping branches resonated, and the ground trembled beneath their feet. What was that? Toby asked, his voice tight with concern. I don't know, but we need to move, Luna urged, her eyes darting nervously. As they turned to leave, a dark shape emerged from the fog, a massive figure, shrouded in shadows, blocking their path. The fog twisted around it, pulsating like a living creature. Who dares to intrude upon my domain? A deep, resonant voice echoed, sending chills down their spines. Leo's heart raced as he faced the creature, trying to hold his ground. He felt a surge of fear, but he remembered the rabbit's words. He was not alone. We're here to help the animals trapped in the fog, Leo called out, trying to sound braver than he felt. We want to restore peace to the forest. The figure laughed, a dark, menacing sound that resonated through the air. Peace? You think you can bring peace to a place that thrives on fear? You are all fools. With a deep breath, Leo stepped forward, summoning every ounce of courage within him. We are not afraid of you. We will stand together and fight against the darkness. For a moment, silence fell over the grove. The creature's gaze locked onto Leo, its expression inscrutable beneath the veil of fog. Then the shadows around it flickered, revealing a twisted form, a monstrous creature, part fog and part darkness, its eyes glowing like embers. You dare to challenge me? It hissed, the ground trembling beneath its presence. Yes, Leo shouted, finding strength in his voice. We will face you together, no matter what. His friends rallied around him, their presence bolstering his resolve. Toby stood firm beside him. Luna's eyes burned with determination, and even Milo, despite his fear, stepped forward with a fierce expression. The creature sneered, and the fog swirled menacingly around them. Very well. Let's see if your unity can withstand the power of fear. In that moment, Leo understood. The battle they were about to face wasn't just against the creature before them, but against the fears that lurked within each of them. He could feel the pressure mounting, but he also felt the support of his friends, reminding him that they were stronger together. On 3, Leo said, his voice ringing with determination. 1, 2, 3. Together they charged forward, ready to confront the darkness and reclaim the light for their forest. The fog swirled around them, but with their hearts united, they stood resolute against the shadows, knowing that they were no longer alone in their fight. They had come too far to back down now. As they moved toward the creature, Leo felt the weight of their fears start to lift. They were ready to face whatever lay ahead, together as friends and allies. Chapter 9, The Heart of the Fog. The swirling fog thickened around Leo and his friends as they charged toward the creature, its dark form looming before them like a storm cloud ready to unleash its fury. Every step felt like wading through molasses, the oppressive weight of fear pressing down on them. Yet, despite the cold tendrils of anxiety that gripped their hearts, Leo felt a flicker of hope ignite within him. Stay close, he shouted, glancing back at his friends. Their faces were resolute, their eyes shining with determination. Toby, ever the steadying force, kept pace beside him, while Luna strategized her approach and Milo bounced with pent-up energy. The creature's eyes glowed brighter, flickering like hot coals. "Foolish creatures," it hissed, its voice reverberating through the grove. "You think your unity can challenge me? I am the embodiment of fear itself." Leo swallowed hard, recalling the rabbit's trembling voice and the urgency of their mission. "We're not afraid of you," he declared, trying to sound more confident than he felt. "We're here to save the forest and everyone trapped in your fog." With a snarl, the creature unleashed a wave of darkness that rippled through the air, pushing against them like an invisible force. Leo stumbled, feeling the oppressive weight of fear trying to claw its way into his heart. But he remembered what Willow had taught him, that fear could only thrive if they allowed it to. "Together!" he shouted, locking eyes with each of his friends. "We can face this!" In unison, they formed a tight circle, hands and paws gripping each other's. Leo could feel the warmth radiating from his friends, a beacon of light in the engulfing darkness. The creature recoiled slightly, its glowing eyes narrowing in confusion. "Why do you cling to one another?" it growled, the fog around it swirling violently. "Your bond is weak. You will crumble before me." "No," Luna countered, her voice steady and fierce. "Our bond is our strength. We're not alone, and we won't let you take our hope." The creature unleashed a howl of rage, and the ground trembled beneath them. With a flick of its shadowy form, it sent tendrils of fog racing toward the group, trying to ensnare them in its grasp. "Brace yourselves," Toby shouted, lowering himself into a sturdy stance. "We must hold on." As the fog lashed out, Leo squeezed his friend's paws tighter, summoning the courage that had brought them this far. "We can do this," he shouted, pushing against the darkness with every ounce of strength within him. The fog curled around them like snakes, whispering doubts and fears into their minds. "You'll never defeat me. You're too weak. You'll lose everything," it hissed, trying to sow discord among them. But Leo closed his eyes for a moment, blocking out the creature's voice. He thought of the friends who stood by him, of the bond they had formed through this journey. "We are strong together," he yelled, feeling the energy of their friendship surge through him. Suddenly, Milo sprang into action, darting around the edges of the fog, creating a diversion. "Hey, ugly! Over here!" he shouted, his voice ringing with bravado. "You think you can scare me? Try again!" The creature turned its focus on Milo, snarling with rage. Leo could see the opportunity unfolding. "Now!" he cried, and the group sprang into action. With Toby's steady strength, they formed a wall against the fog's advance. Luna's sharp mind calculated their next move, guiding them with precision. They pushed forward, moving as one, their collective determination creating a force that pushed against the darkness. The creature roared in frustration, its form flickering as if it were losing its grip. "You think this will end well for you?" it bellowed, lashing out with tendrils of fog that snaked around them. But Leo felt emboldened by the bond they had forged. "Together!" he shouted again, a rallying cry that echoed through the grove. With newfound strength, they surged forward, forcing the creature back. The fog that once seemed impenetrable began to dissipate, revealing glimpses of light that filtered through the trees. As they pressed onward, Leo's heart swelled with hope. "We can drive it away," he exclaimed, rallying his friends. "Don't give in to fear." The creature's form twisted and writhed, its features growing darker as the light began to break through. "No, this cannot be," it screeched, its voice a mixture of fury and disbelief. Leo focused on the light, feeling it drawing closer. "We will restore peace to the forest," he declared, determination blazing in his chest. With one final push, they lunged forward as a unit. Leo felt the surge of energy flow through him as they barreled into the creature, a wave of unity and resolve crashing against the darkness. "Together!" they shouted in unison, their voices merging into a single powerful force that shattered the fog. In an explosion of light, the creature let out a piercing wail, its form collapsing into a cloud of shadows that quickly dissipated into nothingness. The grove erupted in a brilliant glow as the darkness retreated, leaving behind a vibrant landscape that had been hidden for too long. Leo fell to his knees, breathless but exhilarated. The weight of fear that had clung to him melted away, replaced by the warmth of friendship and triumph. "We did it," Milo shouted, his eyes wide with joy. We really did it. Toby smiled warmly, his eyes glistening with pride. Together, we can face anything. Luna surveyed the grove, her expression one of awe. Look at the light! We've brought it back! As the sun broke through the clouds, illuminating the hollowed grove, Leo felt a sense of peace wash over him. The fog that had once suffocated their hopes had been vanquished, replaced by the warmth of unity and love. But amid their celebration, a deeper understanding began to dawn on Leo. They hadn't just defeated the creature, they had confronted their own fears and doubts, emerging stronger on the other side. I couldn't have done this without you all, Leo said, his voice filled with gratitude. You showed me what true courage looks like. Milo nudged him playfully. And you showed us how to be brave, Leo. You're a natural leader. Leo felt a blush rise to his cheeks, but he shook his head, smiling. I couldn't have led without your support. We're a team, and together we can face whatever comes next. With the fog now cleared, they took a moment to catch their breath and revel in their victory. They had faced the heart of darkness and emerged victorious, but there was still more to do. Let's find the other animals, Leo suggested, feeling the urgency of their mission return. They need our help. As they set off together, Leo felt a newfound confidence blossom within him. No longer did self-doubt weigh him down. He had discovered the leader within himself. With his friends by his side, he knew they could overcome any challenge, and together they would restore peace to the great forest. Their journey was far from over, but with each step, they carried the light of their friendship forward, ready to face whatever lay ahead. Chapter 10. The Power of Friendship. As Leo and his friends emerged from the hollowed grove, the forest around them had transformed. The once suffocating fog had lifted, revealing a vibrant landscape that shimmered under the golden light of the sun. The trees stood tall and proud, their leaves rustling in the soft breeze as if welcoming the adventurers back from their perilous journey. It was a stark contrast to the darkness they had faced within the heart of the fog, and for the first time in what felt like ages, the air smelled fresh and alive. We did it, Luna said softly, her sharp eyes scanning the horizon. She seemed almost in disbelief, as if the quiet peace around them was too fragile to be real. The fog is gone. It's so bright, Milo exclaimed, blinking up at the sky with a grin. I almost forgot what the sun looked like. Toby chuckled beside him, his calm presence as grounding as ever. The forest seems to have remembered too. It's like it's been reborn. Leo took a deep breath, feeling the warmth of the sunlight on his fur. He still felt the echoes of their battle in the hollowed grove, but now those memories were overshadowed by the sense of accomplishment that radiated from their victory. Yet, even with the fog gone and the creature defeated, something in Leo's heart told him it wasn't quite over. We still need to find the animals trapped in the fog, Leo reminded them, his voice steady but gentle. They'll be lost, scared. We have to help them get back. Milo nodded enthusiastically. Yeah, we can't leave them out there. Let's be the rescue squad. Luna, always the strategist, gave a small nod. We'll need to split up to cover more ground. The fog might be gone, but some of the animals could still be hiding, unsure if it's safe. Leo considered her words and then looked to his friends. Each of them had grown so much during their journey, their individual strengths shining brightly. He felt a deep sense of pride knowing how far they had come, not just as a group, but as individuals who had each faced their fears head-on. All right, Leo said with a newfound confidence. Luna, you and Milo take the northern part of the forest. Toby and I will head south. If we find any of the animals, we'll bring them back to the center of the forest, where the river meets the great oak. His friends nodded, and with a quick exchange of determined glances, they set off on their respective paths. Leo and Toby made their way through the southern part of the forest, the underbrush thick and the canopy above casting dappled shadows on the ground. The quiet rustling of leaves and distant chirping of birds filled the air. For the first time in days, Leo felt a sense of calm, though a small knot of anxiety still sat in his chest. Do you think we'll find them? Leo asked, glancing at Toby as they navigated through a particularly dense patch of bushes. Toby's slow and steady pace never faltered. We will. The fog may have frightened them, but animals know how to survive. They're just waiting for a sign that it's safe to come out. Leo thought about his own journey, how many times he had been afraid, unsure of what lay ahead. I hope they're okay, he murmured, more to himself than to Toby. Toby gave him a gentle, reassuring look. They will be. You gave them that hope when you decided to fight back. You've already saved them, Leo. Leo felt a warmth spread through his chest at Toby's words, but before he could respond, a faint sound caught his attention. He froze, ears pricked. Do you hear that? He whispered. Toby nodded, his expression serious. Someone's nearby. They pushed forward through the undergrowth, following the sound. Soon, they reached a small clearing where a group of animals huddled together, rabbits, squirrels, and a few deer, their eyes wide with fear. It was clear that they were still shaken from their time in the fog, unsure if it was truly gone. Leo stepped forward cautiously, not wanting to startle them. It's okay, he said softly. The fog is gone. You're safe now. The animals looked at him with a mixture of fear and hope, their instincts telling them to be wary. But Leo stood tall, offering them the comfort of his presence. Slowly, the fear began to melt away from their eyes. We've been trapped for so long, a small rabbit said, her voice trembling. We didn't know if anyone would come. Leo smiled gently. You're safe now. We're here to help. One by one, the animals began to emerge from the shadows, their fear slowly giving way to trust. Toby helped guide them back toward the center of the forest, offering kind words and steady encouragement. As they walked, Leo felt a deep sense of purpose. This was why they had fought, why they had faced the darkness together, to protect the forest and those who called it home. By the time they returned to the great oak, Luna and Milo were already there, leading another group of animals into the clearing. Luna looked up as Leo and Toby arrived, a rare smile playing at the corners of her mouth. You found them. Leo nodded. And you did too. Milo bounded over, his energy as infectious as ever. There were so many of them. I didn't think we'd find them all, but Luna's plan worked like a charm. Leo chuckled, feeling a swell of gratitude for his friends. You did great, Milo. As more and more animals gathered beneath the great oak, the clearing began to buzz with life. The animals who had been trapped for so long now reunited with their families, their joy palpable in the air. The forest was coming back to life, and Leo knew it was because of their efforts. He looked around at his friends, Luna, always sharp and focused, Milo, with his endless enthusiasm, and Toby, the heart of their group. They had all played a part in saving the forest, and now, standing together in the light of the setting sun, Leo felt a deep sense of belonging. For the first time, he truly understood the power of their friendship. It wasn't just about facing challenges together, it was about lifting each other up when the darkness seemed too great to face alone. It was about believing in one another, even when doubt crept in. As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting the forest in a warm, golden glow, Leo felt a profound peace settle over him. They had come through the worst of it, and now, together, they would rebuild. We did it? He whispered, more to himself than anyone else. Luna stepped beside him, her eyes fixed on the animals around them. We did, but we couldn't have done it without you, Leo. He glanced at her, surprised. Without me? You brought us together, Luna said, her voice soft but steady. You're the reason we're here. Milo bounced over, grinning from ear to ear. Yeah, you're the glue that holds us all together, Leo. Toby nodded in agreement. You're a true leader, Leo, and a good friend. Leo felt his heart swell with emotion. For so long he had doubted himself, unsure if he could lead, unsure if he was strong enough. But now, standing here with his friends, he realized that leadership wasn't about being the strongest or the bravest. It was about believing in the people around you and helping them see the best in themselves. As the stars began to twinkle overhead, Leo smiled. I couldn't have done it without all of you. We're a team, and together we can face anything. The night sky stretched out above them, vast and full of possibilities. And as Leo looked up at the stars, he knew that whatever challenges lay ahead, they would face them together, united by the power of friendship. Chapter 11. The Return Home. The dense fog that had plagued the great forest for so long was finally beginning to lift. As the warm light of the sun broke through the remaining tendrils of mist, the forest seemed to breathe in relief. The trees, once shrouded in an eerie gloom, stood tall and proud, their leaves rustling with renewed life. Birds chirped, their songs no longer tinged with fear, and the sound of animals emerging from their hiding places echoed through the once silent woods. Leo, Milo, Luna, Toby, and Willow stood at the edge of the forest clearing, gazing at the horizon where the fog had retreated. Their journey had been long and dangerous, but they had done it. They had defeated the source of the fog and restored peace to their home. The sense of accomplishment hung in the air around them, but so did a deep, quiet exhaustion. "We did it," Leo said softly, his voice filled with a mixture of disbelief and pride. His mane, now slightly longer than when he had begun the adventure, caught the golden light of the sun. His amber eyes, once filled with uncertainty, now held a quiet confidence. The young lion cub had grown into a leader. "You did it, Leo," Willow, the wise old owl, said gently as she perched on a low-hanging branch. "You led us through the darkest of times." Leo shook his head, his modesty shining through. "I couldn't have done it without all of you," he said. "Each of us played a part. We worked together, and that's why we won." Milo, the ever-optimistic meerkat, grinned as he jumped up onto a nearby rock. "I have to admit, I wasn't sure we'd make it through that creepy cave," he said with a chuckle. "But hey, we did, and I'm ready for a nap, maybe a long one." Luna, the clever fox, allowed herself a rare smile. "It wasn't easy," she admitted. "But Leo's right. We wouldn't have made it without everyone's help, and we're all stronger because of it." Toby, the gentle tortoise, nodded slowly. "It's true. We learned so much about each other and ourselves. We faced our fears and we overcame them together." As they started their journey back to the heart of the great forest, word of their victory had already begun to spread. Along the way, animals of all shapes and sizes came out to greet them. Squirrels chattered excitedly in the treetops, deer watched with admiration from the underbrush, and even the usually timid rabbits hopped up to offer their thanks. "Leo, Milo, Luna, Toby, Willow," they cheered. "The heroes of the forest." For Leo, the outpouring of gratitude felt surreal. He had set out to save his family in the forest, but along the way, he had discovered so much more. He had learned the importance of friendship, of trust, and of believing in himself. The young lion cub who had once doubted his every move now walked with a purpose, his heart full of hope and courage. As the group reached Leo's home, a familiar den nestled deep within the forest, they were greeted by his family. Leo's mother, her eyes brimming with tears, rushed forward to embrace him. "Leo," she cried, wrapping him in a tight hug. "I knew you would come back. I knew you were brave enough." Leo nuzzled his mother, his heart swelling with emotion. "I'm home, Mom, and I brought my friends. We saved the forest together." Leo's siblings circled around him, excitedly chattering about the adventure they imagined he had. He smiled warmly at them, knowing that while his journey had been dangerous, it had also been necessary. He was different now, no longer just the curious cub, but a leader, ready to take on whatever challenges came next. As the day turned to dusk, a great celebration erupted in the heart of the forest. A feast was prepared, with animals from all corners of the woods gathering to celebrate the heroes who had saved their home. The night was filled with laughter, music, and stories of the group's bravery. Leo sat quietly for a moment, watching as Milo entertained a group of younger animals with exaggerated tales of their journey. Luna, ever the strategist, was deep in conversation with Willow, discussing what they had learned about the mysterious fog. Toby sat nearby, his eyes reflecting the glow of the fire, content in the warmth of the moment. As Leo looked around at his friends and the forest now alive with joy and light, he realized something important. The fog may have lifted and the immediate danger may have passed, but the bond between him and his friends would remain. They had forged something stronger than any darkness, a friendship built on trust, respect, and shared experience. "I think," Leo said quietly to himself, "that we're ready for anything now." The celebration continued long into the night, and as the first light of dawn began to break through the trees, Leo felt a sense of peace he hadn't known before. He was no longer just a lion cub from the forest. He was a leader, and with his friends by his side, he knew they could face any challenge that came their way. The great forest had been restored, and though life would soon return to normal, the adventure they had shared would never be forgotten. Epilogue: A New Dawn. As the forest awoke to a new day, Leo stood on a hill, watching the sun rise over the trees. The adventure was over, but the lessons it had taught him would stay with him forever. He had learned to trust in himself and in his friends, and he knew that as long as they were together, there was no obstacle they couldn't overcome. The great forest was safe once more. But Leo couldn't help but wonder what other mysteries lay hidden in its depths. Whatever came next, he was ready. And with that, Leo turned back toward the forest, his heart full of hope and his eyes fixed on the horizon, where new adventures surely awaited. The end.
That's all today's content. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more helpful content. Good luck on your English language learning journey.